Good evening, esteemed guests, members of the Thai Sea Community Fund, members of the India Thai Chamber of Commerce, and all of you who have joined us today. My name is Jamal Thakral, and I am the Executive Director of the India Thai Chamber of Commerce, and it is my great privilege to welcome all of you to today's event, From Structure to Success, where we will delve into the key strategies needed to build a sustainable business future. We are incredibly fortunate to have gathered here today with so many thought leaders, innovators, and visionaries from our business community as we aim to discuss and exchange ideas that can strengthen our commercial ties and enhance sustainable growth. This event is co-organized by the Thai Sea Community Fund and the India Thai Chamber of Commerce, the ITCC, which has been the forefront of promoting business collaboration and fostering deep, enduring relationships between the business communities. I would like to take a moment to share more about the ITCC, a key partner in today's event. The ITCC is a non-government, industry-led, and industry-managed organization playing a pivotal role in supporting businesses that trade or invest between these two vibrant nations, India and Thailand. It is recognized by both the Thai government and the Indian government. Our mission is to provide an essential link between the business communities of India and Thailand and creating a platform that fosters collaboration and mutual growth. This year, 2024, marks an important milestone for the ITCC. Its 80th anniversary, which was celebrated in full grandeur at the Marriott Marquis Hotel earlier this year. The event was well attended by distinguished guests, including Thailand's former Prime Minister, Srettha Thavisin, and the current Minister of Interior, President of the Parliament, and many top Thai business owners in the country, showcasing the great significance of our chamber in the country. As one of the oldest and largest chambers in Thailand, we are incredibly proud of our legacy in promoting and enhancing the commercial and economic ties between Thailand and India. With over 400 corporate members and more than 1,100 esteemed individual members, the ITCC represents a diverse cross-section of industries. Our members span across such as agricultural, hospitality, jewelry and diamond, properties, textiles, manufacturing, and many more. A significant portion of our membership consists of entrepreneurs in the SME sector, highlighting the entrepreneurial spirit that drives our business community. In spite of its great and rich legacy and history, the ITCC still has a long way to go to reach its full potential. And that full potential can only be reached by having more of the Indian diaspora in Thailand as members and being active participants of the chamber. The Thai Sea community forms a significant part of the diaspora, and I urge you to be part of the chamber to strengthen this institution for all of us to benefit. Today's discussion, moving from structure to success, will be about identifying the frameworks, resources, and strategies needed to build businesses that will stand the test of time. From efficient operations to responsible practices, we'll explore how the right business strategies can lead to long-term sustainable success with your esteemed panelists and moderator today. I encourage all of us here today to use this event as a springboard for meaningful conversations, strategic partnerships, and innovative ideas. Thank you once again to the Thai Sea Community Fund, and I'd like to thank the India Thai Chamber of Commerce Board for organizing this significant event. Especially, I'd like to thank my president, ITCC president, Mr. Sushil Dhanuka, for being extremely and very supportive of this event. Thank you all for being here today. Let's move forward with energy, creativity, and a shared commitment to building a more sustainable and prosperous business future. Thank you very much. I would like at this moment to now call upon the moderator for the night, who will then introduce all our esteemed panelists. So let's give a warm round of applause to our moderator for the night, Mr. Harprem Dua. I hand over the microphone to you for now.
Thank you everyone for being here today. Understand it took a lot of you a lot of time to get here. Traffic was absolutely horrendous. We all felt the pain of that. My name is Harprem. I'll be your moderator tonight. My job here is to showcase the talent we have on our panels today. So the focus is definitely going to be on them. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce all three members of the panelists. Please take your seats. So first off, I'll do a brief introduction of them. On the leftmost hand there, you have Gagan. Gagan has an extremely rich background in startups and corporates. He's now the founder of Wows Global, which is one of a fintech platform in terms of matching investors and startups. Before that, he has a professional background, including being a chartered accountant by qualification. He's worked in multiple startups, including Delivery. He's invested in multiple companies like A-Commerce, Super Awesome, Totally Awesome, SoftBake, and before that also worked at Inspire Ventures. So extremely rich background in startups, in corporate, CFO, multiple accounting backgrounds, and that's Gagan for you right there. Up next we have Arsh. Arsh is the CEO of Generali Thailand at the moment. Before he took this role, he was actually in the leadership position at the regional level, taking care of distribution for Generali International, including Asia, all over Asia, including China, Hong Kong, India, Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, and Vietnam. He himself is also a financial background with the CFA and has been living in Thailand now for the past year and a half, taking over both Generali Life and Non-Life. So please give him a warm welcome as well. And last but not least, we have our very own homegrown Simi, who started her own legal consulting company, Umpire Legal, which now has a total of almost 15? Yeah, 15 people now under her employment. Myself and Gagan actually uses her services, so we're very happy with her so far. She's a licensed notarial, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, okay. And she has a master's degree in law, international business law as well from England. Please welcome Simi. So while we're talking about this topic today, which is essentially discovering effective business practices to ensure longevity, I feel like we have a very good mix of panelists here. We've got one who is focused on starting and incepting companies from scratch. We've got one who's very good at structuring companies. And we've got one from one of the oldest companies in the world, Generali, which is over a 200-year-old company. So you're going to be hearing this topic from multiple different perspectives. During this conversation, we're going to structure it like a conversation. We want it to be light, and we want it to be interactive. You have this QR code right here. You can scan this QR code and ask as many questions as you want. Myself, as a moderator, will be able to see these questions, and you can ask them anonymously as well. So no worries, no one will know who you are. I won't know either. And you can also upvote other people's questions if you find some topics that they're asking very interesting as well, okay? So we'll try to split it up between questions I ask them. We'll try to make this as interactive as possible. And in the meantime, if you guys want to pull out your phone, scan this QR code and ask any questions, let me know. I have my laptop here. I'll be able to see anything pop up. Okay. Just give me a second while I set this up. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Two mics here. Right. Okay, I hope you don't mind if I have my laptop here. I swear I'm not surfing or watching YouTube. It's just easier for me to see the questions this way. Okay, so let's get this topic started. We've got multiple things we wanted to cover. The panelists are aware of what we want to talk about. The whole concept of this is we want to essentially impart our knowledge, or essentially their knowledge, onto whoever is attending here on what we can do practically to essentially build a business to make sure that it lasts generations. Okay, a lot of you guys are businessmen here. A lot of you guys are first generation, second generation, moving on to third generation. We all understand the saying where strong times make weak men brings bad times create strong men create good times create weak men. It's a cycle. Everything is a cycle that we do. So how do you break from that cycle? How do you essentially make it last longer and run through these different periods and events? And one of the best examples I can think of for you are Generali is a 200-year-old insurance company built by an entrepreneur in Italy. It has survived world wars, changing world dynamics through a period where there was no technology available at all. What do you think has actually attributed to Generali surviving this long?
Thanks, Arvind, for the question. And I would also like to thank all of you for attending today. It's an honor for me to be here. Like Harpreet said, I've been here for a year and a half, and this is one of those opportunities where I get to interact with people from my background, from my community. So thanks so much for inviting me. Thanks to the organizers as well for taking the effort in planning all this. So before I answer your question, I would like to share that with all these efforts put over 200 years, Generali has been able to reach a stage where it is one of the Fortune 500 companies. It has revenue of around 80 billion euros, profits of around 6 billion euros. We are present in 80 countries and we have around 90,000 people working with Generali. And I'm one of them. One of the reasons, or I wouldn't say one of the reasons, the main reason why Generali has been there for 200 years and being successful is because we believe in our core values. And they've been there for many years now. And those values are, one of them is we value our people. The second is we live our community. We deliver on our promise. And the last one is we are open. We believe in being open. I would like to stress upon two of these values. One is being open. We question ourselves every time we take a venture. We question ourselves when we decide on entering a new market. And we also question ourselves when we launch a new product in the market. The reason is we want to challenge our own beliefs every time, given the change in the society, given the change in the world. And that also breeds innovation among us. So we are very open to criticism. We are very open to challenging ourselves constructively. The other value that I would like to stress upon is we deliver on our promise. For those, I think all of you are familiar with insurance. We all need insurance at some point of our time. But insurance is a product which delivers over a period of time. Some of you would be having life insurance, which is a 50 to 100-year product, where the real benefits that you get are not given directly to you, but to your family members at times. You need an organization which can deliver on the promise 50, 100 years later. And we believe in that. We honor those commitments. And that's the reason why we are not big risk takers. I know we're talking about entrepreneurship. Maybe Gagan is going to talk about taking risks. We come from opposite world. We believe in assessing our risk and then deciding on what we can digest, what we cannot. So these are the two values which over a period of time have made us stronger. And I believe that this would continue to give us strength over the coming 200 years. Thanks, Spring.
That's quite an ambition to be able to be around for the next 200 years. Actually, one of the things I wanted to ask is transferring values over from one generation to another, or from one management to another, or even one country to another country. What do you think Generali does very well to be able to transfer that over to somebody else in another part of the world, to be able to understand that, to take that further?
That's a very good question. I was talking about one of the values. I didn't stress upon it. The answer could be boring. We value our people a lot, so we invest a lot in our people. Most of the 90,000 people we have, they have been with Generali for their lifetime. I'm a living example. I've been with the company for 15 years now, and I've had experience in 4 different markets, 8 different roles, and the company has invested a lot in me. So we prepare our people to take up challenges of the future. We also prepare our people to be okay with a diverse environment, a multicultural environment. We believe a lot in DEI. In Thailand, we have won many awards in DEI now, and the reason is that the company invests a lot in our people. The other reason for us being successful in Thailand is a very open society. It comes very natural to us. In fact, Generali Thailand has won awards within Generali Group on similar topics. So the answer to your question is because of our people. Those are the biggest asset we have.
Okay. Look, and coming from a company that you were saying earlier as well, you look at the risk assessment, you don't take as much risk as most people think you would. And then on the other side, you have somebody in the startup ecosystem whose entire job is to take risk and to do the unknown or do something that is completely unproven, untested. And these companies, let's face it, right, including my own, including a few others, get exorbitant valuations, right? So Gagan, let me ask you this very, very straightforward way. Why is it that a tailoring business, like a lot of the people here who might have a typical business, been running for generations as well, making millions, be worth less than a startup that has no revenues? Just why?
We get that quite a lot, and I love answering that this question. But before that, thanks Afreen for having us. I would like to thank Thai Startup Community, Thai SIG Foundation, and also ITCC for having us here. So, coming back to your question, what is a startup and why does it able to command such an insane valuation? Before we deep dive into that, let us understand what startups are and understand a clear differentiation between startups and SMEs. Because I personally believe that sometimes people get confused between the two. So if you go by the literal definition of the word startup, startup essentially means, am I able to come through clearly? It's a bit, go ahead. Okay, so startup is essentially a novel business idea, something as Harpreet mentioned, which hasn't been done before. Goes into uncharted territories, typically backed by technology to achieve scalable growth. So scalable is a key word here, because what happens is, while a traditional business is expected to grow, say, 10%, 20% year on year, startups on the other hand are expected to grow from 0 to 100 million within like less than 10 years, which is quite an ambition. What essentially means is that they will have to grow at a much faster pace as typical traditional business. So whereas on the other hand, SMEs, the definition of SME changes per country. So if you talk about Thailand specifically, I think you fall under the SME category until the organization has less than 200 employees and up to 15 million Thai baht revenue, which is $15 million, which startups typically achieve in no time. So this is a fundamental difference between startups and SMEs. So if I have to give an analogy, you can see like, so SMEs are basically a Ford. It's a Ford versus Ferrari thing. So Ford is a very reliable car, very comfortable, sustainable, whereas Ferrari is like an F1 car, which consumes a lot of fuel, but eventually helps you win championship. So that's the basic difference. And that's what every investor is banking on. They're banking on the prospect. They're banking on the company's ability to grow at an unprecedented pace, make the revenue which no other company in the region was making, and eventually they make returns. Now, the next point is, how are these companies valued? And that's most important. Now, there are multiple methodologies that are used by investors while valuing such companies. But the more common one, which is used in this part of the world, essentially is a discounted cash flow model, which means that the expected revenue and profit margins of the company over the next 6-7 years are discounted to the current value, because whatever we can buy of 1 baht today, we can't buy the same thing in say 6 years, right? So it might be worth say 80 satang. So you have to use that discount rate to arrive at the company's prospective revenue numbers and then arrive at the valuation. Now naturally, because the startups grow at an unprecedented pace, they command a higher valuation over the businesses which is growing steadily but 10-20% year on year. Sorry for a super long answer, but I hope it.
No, that's okay. I think what you've done is open up their eyes to realize that a lot of them might stop doing tailoring and start doing startups very, very quickly, or at least put a tech element to the existing business and suddenly get a 10x valuation. And look, as a startup guy myself, I completely understand the spaces are very, very different. It is not about making profitability right away. It's about building it for scale so that you can be profitable later on, but not just in one specific location, in multiple locations all over the world. And that's setting up a structure for scalability. So, with that in mind, Simi, this is your area of expertise. What kind of structure or tools would you suggest a lot of these businesses that are around in the society that they should definitely have in place that would help them structure for scale in the future?
Hi everyone, I'm Simi. Thank you for this opportunity and for organizing the event. Okay, Harpreet, what kind of structure, right? I think it might be a bit late for a lot of businesses that are probably in their third or fourth generation now.
No hope at all, really?
No. Not necessarily, but I guess everyone just has to be open-minded and on the same page. So basically, when I have clients come to me, they're usually business partners, whether they're friends or just, maybe startup business partners or brothers. When they come with an idea to me and they want to start a new business, the one thing that I tell them is that they should have a contract in place. Not just the registration of the company and the articles of association, that's the regular forms from the government, but I always encourage people to have a contract, whether it's a shareholders agreement or a management agreement or some kind of document that they can outline the terms and conditions of their partnership in clearly. Because in that document, which is supposed to be very, very important, more important than the actual registration documents, in that document you can actually specify the roles and responsibilities of each partner, each party, the contribution, whether it's financial or whether it's energy or know-how, whatever they're going to contribute, what the returns are going to be, what the expectations are. Obviously you can't know everything from the very beginning, but if you have a document that's in place to set the rules and regulations from the very beginning, it can avoid a lot of issues later, or even if there were issues that would come up, it can help you to resolve it in a more agreeable and amicable manner. So, and again, one of the clauses that I'm very pro is a mediation clause. That's outside of court dispute resolution. I'm a mediator myself, maybe that's why I'm also pro it, but technically, I don't deal in court proceedings. I'm a licensed lawyer, I got that license 15 years ago, but if you ask me about the court procedures, all the uncles here who've been to court several times will probably know a lot more than I do. But
I guess the whole point of what you do is so you don't end up in court.
Exactly. So this is what I do. I create a document or several documents for you so that you can avoid issues later, or even if there were issues that would come up, you would find a way to resolve them in a manner that is a win-win situation for everyone.
And Gagan and Arsh, just out of curiosity as well, right? In your businesses, like Gagan, for example, in startups, would you ever consider investing in a startup that didn't have these documents in place?
Absolutely not, because a clean corporate governance is the foundation of any secure investments. Because startups are anyways inherently a very, I'll say, risky investments, right? The chances of you losing capital are rather high. Now, on top of that, if the corporate governance is not very clean, it adds to the risk element which nobody likes. So just to add to that point, it's not just the corporate documentation which are given, which needs to be clean in terms of the arrangement between the multiple shareholders, how it looks like, whether the company has the appropriate licenses to run the business, and the most important part, particularly the tech businesses, intellectual property. Because tech businesses don't have hard assets. They're not hotels, they are not other buildings which you can really value. It's all the intellectual property, the technology they have built. So unless it's properly documented who would be owning that and whether it's appropriately registered, so the risk element has. So that's a long way of me saying that it's of fundamental importance, and the companies who don't have a clear corporate governance have very little chance to raise capital.
And something I'd like to add as well, because we're on the topic of family businesses. There are a lot of families here in Thailand, probably, families who are more business focused with lots of members of the family involved in the same business, where they actually draw up a contract, kind of like a constitution or articles of association, where they outline the terms and conditions of every member's role in the business. Of course, that would be from a management perspective, but it would be helpful to have something like that.
And Arsh, out of curiosity as well, you are the CEO of Generali Thailand, the top dog there. You control the life and non-life insurance industry from that company. As a CEO, as a top guy there, can you approve my claims if I were to make a claim?
No. See, you've already got the answer from Simi and Gagan. I would just like to add that I spent 10 years in Hong Kong. When I came here for the first time a year and a half ago, I was a bit shocked to see the legal documents here. They're very loosely constructed, and we of course had to beef up our legal team. And I was told that it's a gentleman agreement in Thailand, even for a corporate like us, which I was shocked to hear. I strongly advise don't do that. It comes to haunt you later. Please read the exit clauses there very well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. Arsh, just back to you a little bit as well, right? Speaking about, going back to the topic of longevity, especially for Generali, 200-year-olds surviving everything that they did. External factors tend to be one of the biggest issues that cause not just family businesses, but any businesses to really fail. When everything is going well, when money's coming in, everything is happy, everything is fine because there's plenty to go around. But when something happens externally, like for example, we all went through a pandemic. COVID happened recently. That affected everyone massively. Tailors couldn't travel overseas to do their clients' work. Hotels had to shut down. They could not run and operate as they did before. A lot of people were affected by that. And when they're affected by these external factors, that's when crunch time happens. That's when the problems start cropping up. That's when all the details start showing up and where conflict really, really happens. How do you think a company like Generali has survived through all of these external factors? What have you, can you give some practical examples of things that you've seen and taken care of in this as well?
It's a very good question. In fact, we are living in a world which is very volatile. We have, and this is I'm talking from my company's perspective, which we get impacted with. We have the US trade war, which is going to come up in January when Trump takes over. We have the Russia-Ukraine war, which is impacting us. We have the conflict in Middle East, which is also having a big impact on our business. And then we just came out of COVID. COVID was a big impact on any insurer, any and every insurer here in Thailand as well. These are massive impacts, and then we are facing the challenge of climate change, which I don't think we're ready with. The two factors I would say that they're very critical for us. One is from a business perspective, that the business has to diversify. That's a core for us. The second is from a leader perspective. We look for leaders who are very resilient. Diversification, I'll give you an example. One of the family businesses that we insure here, they suffered massive losses because they were too dependent on export to US, and of course the tensions that we see in the world, their export went down. It's nothing to do with the business. The business is doing well. It's just that the contracts came down and they were not prepared for it. So they had the business continuity risk from us, which helped them. I'm not here to sell insurance, but I'm just telling you that they had insurance which helped them in that in facing that challenge. But the ideal way is not to depend entirely on insurance, rather to diversify the business. The other aspect that I was talking about is resilience. It doesn't matter how many times you fall, it matters how many times you fall and then get up and then run. We believe in leaders who are very strong. We've been, in fact, our group promotes that. And we are also looking forward to promoting the young generation and building them to face the world, which is going to be even tougher than what we are seeing today.
Okay, you were talking about diversification and the key of actually splitting up the risk and reducing the risk, right? Malcolm, what are your thoughts on diversification? How does it apply to a traditional business? Does it mean they should start, a traditional hotelier should start running into restaurants or start going to the tech play? What do you think it means for the everyday man?
It's an age-old saying, right? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. So it's true for almost everybody, right? Like, you can't just rely on one source of income, you need multiple sources of income. There's so many inherent risks in all the businesses that you do. And with the advent of AI, it shouldn't come as a surprise to any of us that a lot of jobs which are happening the way they are today definitely won't be happening perhaps 10 years from now. That's not going to happen. And since most of the people here are SME background, let me tell you, sometimes people with SMEs have so many deep insights on the business, with so-called tech geeks or so-called flamboyant MBAs have no idea about it. And these people, for some reason, undermine their subject matter knowledge and are scared to perhaps try something in a more, I say, sophisticated or more modern form, because they simply believe they can't do it, which is absolutely false. So diversification is important, and there are multiple ways you can do it. All the businesses can be done in a modern fashion, and what I would suggest is to all the SMEs who want to do other businesses, start slowly. Never go outside your subject matter knowledge, so there should be some synergies around it. That's one. So for example, if you're running a tailor shop, because that's the example you've used a couple of times now, so perhaps you evaluating some AI-based fashion label, or say for example a sustainable fashion, is perhaps a better industry for you to go into rather than crypto mining, because it's hot. Because you understand the garments business much better than most of the people around, and technology is nothing but a means to do business. Ultimately, the bottom line is you should know how to make money, and if you know your purchase, 50% of the problem is solved, which nobody knows better than the SMEs.
So I see a few tailors writing this stuff down right now. So now let's assume half the people here are landlords, which, to be honest, they own half of Sukhumvit already.
Right.
What startup idea would you have for them?
So again, land, it's the most valuable asset historically as well, and it'll continue to be so. So people have used it in multiple shapes and forms, right? So for example, leasing historically has been that, but what I think the new age startups like WeWork and Airbnbs have proved that the short-term rentals sometimes give you much better deals than your long-term rentals. So it's just about doing the same thing but in a different way. Like instead of leasing your premises at a barely any 5%, 7% increment year on year for 10 years, rather try short-term rentals, because with the current technology, it's way faster, way easier for you to keep that churn going with the customers, right? Even though customers leave, but you can always replace them with the new customers. So eventually your ROI, return on investments, can be much higher. Plus on top of that, even the way the traditional businesses are being done, like big hotels, that is also changing drastically. Like right now, the cost of operating the hotels is drastically high because of the manpower you need. But that's changing rapidly as well, because there's so many friction points where historically we needed people can be completely removed, right from check-in to check-out. Like there are multiple sectors. I don't want to deep dive, but I think you get the answer.
So, yeah, you know, just circling back to what you're saying, diversification and what Arsh was saying earlier, well, it definitely is the key. And something that I've experienced myself and seen from my peers as well is when they enter the new generation of their businesses or SMEs, they tend to be the ones to try to drive for that diversification, for splitting of it. But sometimes the family structure or the business structure is not in place, or the governance is not there to be able to make these decisions. Now, you know, to Cindy, this is, again, it's a very heavy question, and I really appreciate being able to take this. From your perspective, just say in a family-oriented business where, generally speaking, the eldest member or the top member of the family tends to make the decision. Now, we've already heard from Arsh. He's the top guy at Generali, but he cannot approve my claims at Generali because there's structure in place. I'm very sad about that, by the way. I really wish you couldn't. But in a family structure, it's not that way. It's not about, most of the time, it's not about the most capable person. Most of the time, it's not about the most hungry person. Most of the time, it's about hierarchy. How, you know, what's your thoughts and perspective on that? How would you try to adjust that or set in a legal precedence where you can actually move away from that?
That's actually a very complicated thing to do.
We have some time, so please go for it.
Well, we grew up in a generation where we had to say hanji hanji to our elders all along, no matter what their decision was or no matter what they asked us to do. Of course, trying to change that is I would not try. But if, it sounds like we're trying to change their perspective though from this conversation. Well, I think in terms of striking a balance, if the elders are willing to be open to the new generation coming up with new ideas, things like, startups, or, just risking a few things or bringing technology into the businesses, then of course they can find a common ground and meet halfway. I guess that would be all.
Any specific legal structures that come to mind that would actually help facilitate that?
I'm not entirely sure you can actually put this down in writing, unless it goes back to what we had talked about earlier, like a contract, but that's usually just to set the business in place with like everybody's roles and stuff. But in terms of actual practice, that depends on the individuals and their willingness to cooperate.
Fair enough. Starting up a new business entity within an existing SME structure is like a startup. It is risky, and most of the time the younger generations tend to use technology to try to do things that the previous generation haven't. Even in your corporate setting, I'm sure you see new blood that you bring into the company, try to implement new tools, right? What's your take on this?
Take on the new blood?
Yeah.
I think we badly need it. Our customers are younger than our employees, much younger. Our average age for our company in Europe is around 50 years. That's the average age, because a lot of people have been there for years. Here in Thailand it's 35, but our customers are much younger than that now. So to attract those customers, we have to come up with products which suit their needs. And we do not have the people who can actually do that. So it's very important to get young blood. Then Gagan was talking about AI. I don't think AI should be taken lightly in any way or form. It's going to change the way we do business. Most of our businesses, even if you are not technology oriented, either we adopt it or someone else is going to do it for us. We face a big challenge from companies like yours. You're a very humble person. You can compete with us in future and maybe take over our company the way you're going. Insurtechs are the future of this world. And the way you do business and the way you make it easier for your customers, we are far away from that. So yes, both young blood and technology is very important for our business.
And I like what you said about customers, right? And that's the key part. Throughout my years in the startup industry as well, they say if you're in the startup industry, and Gagan, correct me if I'm wrong, working 10 years in the startup industry is like working, 30, 40 years in a corporate? Right? Sounds about right? The same level of stress? Yeah. But one thing you learn very, very quickly is that if you don't adapt to your customers, then you won't get those customers to begin with. So if you want to attract younger customers, you have to think like a younger company. And a lot of larger companies get stuck in this fallacy of staying true to what they are doing or have done in the past because they think that their customers want that. But they're not thinking about the future customers that could hire, or the future customers that could gain by actually adapting or adjusting the way of doing business. So something very, very simple. If you're an insurance broker, again, I'm from the insurance industry, so also just going to stick to what I know. If you're an insurance broker, you might tell your offspring or your next generation, my customers won't buy this, our customers won't buy this product, they won't care about this piece of technology because they are this age, they're this age, they're this age. But if you never implement the technology or you never try doing it a different way, then how are you going to attract the younger people who actually want to use that piece? Right, if you're a hotel that doesn't have a smart TV and you still have one of those old TVs that you click on a button, are you going to get the business-oriented customer? You're not. But you're stuck in this fallacy, essentially. It becomes a catch-22. You are self-fulfilling your own prophecy by saying that you're not doing it because you don't have that. But you don't have that because you're not doing it. So it's very important to break out of that cycle, and getting new blood in a business or in an environment, or even changing things around by getting contracts in place, getting governance in place, and setting structures in a way that helps drive forward growth and longevity of a company. Again, guys, don't forget, we have a QR code right here. If you guys have any questions at all, it's completely anonymous. Just scan it and ask your questions on your phone right away. If you cannot see the QR code, we're happy to pass this around towards the back. Sandeep, can you help me pass the QR codes to the back so that everyone can see it? So we're going to change it up a little bit now. We're going to go through a very quick fire round. Some really intense, honest, off-the-cuff type questions that you guys are going to have to answer. All right? Arsh, really, really quickly, what is the most overrated business advice you've ever gotten?
Want an honest answer.
I want you to lie.
It's a tough one. I get a lot of advice. One of the advice which worked for me, which I believe is overrated, was always follow your instinct. Like I said, it worked for me the initial few years, and then I started realizing that it's not what I should be doing. And the reason is simple. I started failing. I started realizing that it's better to take advice, learn from people, listen to them. And that's what we're doing here as well. You mentioned about young people. Whenever they're new joiners, every 90 days, I meet them. I meet each of the new joiner. And the only question I ask them is, what is it that you would like to change in Generali Thailand? And the answers we get is something we can't even think of. So I stopped following my instinct. I follow others' instinct now.
Brilliant. All right.
As Warren Buffett says, right? In God we trust, everyone else brings data. That's the way to go about it, my friend.
Brilliant. I love it. Okay, next quick fire round. Simi, you're a mediator. How do you maintain neutrality when dealing with family members that have conflict with each other?
Well, the first thing you're trained for is to be a neutral party. You're not supposed to take sides. That's the whole point of being a mediator.
I get it, but being a human being, you must have that thing where, okay, that person is definitely wrong.
Well,
that person is right.
I have to keep that inside. I can't show it on the outside. So I guess the point is to reach the outcome of peace and everyone getting somehow, you're not going to get everything you want, but to a certain extent, right? How do I maintain it? I just have to keep it to myself.
Okay, fair enough. But I like what you said about focusing on the outcome. I think at the end of the day, when you do have an issue within a business, if you both have the same mindset of what you want the outcome to be, then there's at least something to work towards. If the outcome of both parties are completely different, that's going to be a little bit more difficult to get a middle ground between, right? Okay, fair enough. Okay, and Gagan, for your, quick fire, right? First round for most fundings of startups like ourselves are, friends, busy, friends, families, and fools. Now, what's your take on fundraising from these 3 Fs?
Okay, so yeah, that's true. Friends, family, and fools. So fools are not like literal fools but they're actually the believers who want to see the world changing and they want to be a small part of it. So first thing is be very, very careful, particularly while raising from family members, because we all know that money is extremely sensitive thing. And it shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone that so many families fall apart because of some minor money issues, not the major ones, but even the minor ones. So first and foremost, you should be very, very careful. And the philosophy which I like using is R2D2. Do we have any Star Wars fans here? Star Wars fan? Yeah, so those who would understand. It's R2D2. So what is this R2D2? So first R is risk. Make sure that before you accepting the money, you reiterate all the risks with the investments. You don't just overpromise and underdeliver. That simply doesn't work when you're accepting money. You will have to tell them that this is a high-risk investment. There's a strong chance they might lose all of their capital, but if it works, then it can work great. That brings me to my second R, which is returns. Managing returns expectations. So while I was having this chat, like before we started this session with a gentleman here who asked me a very simple question. Okay, you make people invest money. How much returns do you generate? And this is a very common question because all of us work really hard for our capital and we do expect some money when we invest. So, but sometimes what we have seen is people are not familiar with the startup world and everybody thinks that if they put, say, 100 baht, it will become 100,000 baht in no time. But it doesn't really work that way. yes, there are few exceptions where people have made millions and sometimes billions of dollars. If they haven't had it, the people who invested in the likes of Amazon, Uber, LinkedIn, they made a lot of money. But particularly if you talk about this part of the world, the returns haven't been that substantially high. Still much better than the public market investing, but somewhere around 30-35% IRR. So you have to be extremely careful while telling them, managing the expectation that, okay, high risk, but high returns, but not, and also cap it to a certain degree. If you over-deliver, I promise you no one's going to complain. So that's the second R. And third, two Ds are due diligence. So it's true for both the investor, the person who's putting in money, and the person who's accepting the money. Like, make sure your paperwork is in order. Make sure you force the person who's giving you money to go through all your business plan, your legal work, and if there are audit reports, make them go through it. So that tomorrow, if, for God forbid, things go sour, they shouldn't come and tell you that you actually were not fully transparent. So if I have to summarize, make them aware of the risks, make sure they will manage the expectation when it comes to returns, and the rest of D2 is due diligence. Make sure you force them to do the audit so that they know what they're getting themselves into.
You, sir, are like the ChatGPT of investment. Just type in a quick question and you get like a whole essay of an answer. Brilliant.
Like to talk.
All right, just moving on to some of the questions from the audience as well. Simi, I'm going to go to you on this, and actually going to switch sides a little bit. Not on the lawyer side, but a lot of people forget the fact that you are a mom of 3. You set up your own business as a law firm, and you have 15 full-time employees, which is an incredibly profitable business and absolutely insane to be able to do that. How do you overcome failures and that whole mindset of setbacks, especially from the beginning when you first started? It must be daunting.
I think one of the good things that I did, one of the better decisions that I made was to start up a little earlier. So I opened the company before I had my first child, and of course there's been no maternity leave for me. There's been 100% support from my mom, who I called and cried to whenever I need. And of course my family in general has been very supportive. But what was the question?
How do you overcome the whole mindset of like failures and setbacks? Throughout this process, I'm sure you've had many.
Yes, for sure. So I think I've had my moments where I struggled for sure, but then over the years I've learned to deal with the struggles and handle them in a way that everything starts within yourself. So I started to meditate, I ground myself, and this is completely not legal, but it's not illegal, but you get what I'm saying. You just manage yourself, technically.
So just do everything legal, nothing illegal, is that what you're saying?
No. Okay, this is going off the track now. Basically, just, I think the first person you need to manage is yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, before you can handle everything else around you.
Okay, fair enough. Arsh, to you. You talked earlier about having younger generation join your company. You're embracing that more. A lot of companies actually try to prefer or try to hire the more seasoned, or let's say the a little bit more well-established employees, right? What is your take on hiring younger generation versus older generation? And how do you incorporate that into your company culture and help it grow?
It's a very good question. It's not younger versus older generation. It's a balanced mix. We need experienced people. We're talking about businesses which are run very technically. I'm sure your business as well, it requires a lot of experience in it. So we always need a balance. It's just that it's hard to attract younger generation into a business like insurance. Insurance is very boring. It's very hard to get people to join insurance. So that's where the challenge is. We're trying to make it exciting through technology. But we need a mix of both, younger as well as older.
Can I add to it? I don't know what's going on with the younger generation, but it seems like they like to try different things. So we have a big turnover with the younger generation in terms of even law graduates. They'll come 6 months, 9 months, and then they want to move on to the next thing. So it's just, I guess maybe they're also at that age where they want to.
Gagan, you have plenty of experience on this. I mean, when you started Wells Global, I remember you were only hiring interns exclusively for a while. How did you deal with that?
I mean, see again, you have to understand that know your audience, right? And most of our audience are actually sub 30 years old. They are ambitious young people who could have taken a much higher well-paid job, but suddenly decided to come and change the world. And if we really wanted to tap into our audience, we should know how to speak their language. And I just turned 40, so I'm not that young. So, so what I learned is that the interns somehow were able to resonate like whatever these were creating was resonating with our customer base. And the channels which we were using were quite outdated because whatever we had learned during our early 20s and early 30s, late 20s and early 30s, somehow those things don't work that efficiently anymore. Like you do a lot of podcast shots. We didn't know anything about it. So these people came, they understood where our audience is, but they were smarter than us to identify what channel would work the best. So that was the idea. Plus we wanted to save some money.
Makes sense. But on the topic of money as well, right? My personal take on the younger generation, a lot of people throw a lot of shade at this generation, saying that they try different things, they don't know where they're heading toward. But while the world has become an easier place to live, it's been a lot harder of a place to earn or build the wealth that the previous generation were able to do. With lack of information, that is, let's just say lack of transparency, lack of information, there was a lot of way to make money from arbitrage. You could buy and sell from one location to another location on trading and make insane margins, which, let's face it, you cannot do anymore. Even 20 years ago, you would be able to import from China and sell to customers all over the world and make a massive margin in between. But now the customers will go directly there because the market is opened up. Information is readily available. You can search on AliExpress, on Temu to find products, or you go to ChatGPT and it'll literally spit out all the details about where you can get this product from, who you can get it for, what the MOQs are, what the prices are, complete transparency. That information has changed the world, but it's also made it a lot more difficult for this new generation to make the kind of wealth. It's not that they're not working hard. In fact, studies and statistics have shown the newer generation are actually working more hours but earning a significantly far less amount of money to be able to support themselves as the previous generations were. So I guess that's my way of saying, cut us some slack.
Actually, I differ on that, Brain. Because yes, the world has changed, but the only thing that's changed is the way we are doing business. Yes, the arbitrage opportunities have reduced drastically. There's more transparency in the pricing. But look at the number of jobs now people can do which previously they couldn't. Like the cottage industries in each of the countries are growing incredibly well, like 7%, 8% year on year, particularly India. Now what is happening is all these housewives who previously had no access to make money, they were not allowed to go out, are starting their own grab kitchen and selling. All those people who were doing nothing but had a car, didn't know anything to do with it, now can drive for Grab and make money. Now these are small odd jobs, but they can make money on them. Talk about Upworks. Like if I'm sitting in India, I know a little bit of tech. Previously, I had no access to customers outside of the people I know. But now go to Upwork, build your profile, and boom, now you'll be getting contracts from the US market, from European market, from whatnot. So yes, that's a long way of me saying again that yes, the way the people approach business has changed. But personally, I feel that the avenues to make money are much more now than what it was historically. Because historically, unless you leave your house, unless you go grind and meet people, nothing was possible. Now Zoom calls, you close your round without meeting the investors. Well, that was over $1 million. Can you imagine doing that like 20 years ago? No chance.
No, I guess what you're saying is if you adapt and embrace the technology and all changes, you can actually find a different way to make money. But it won't be the same as the previous generation. It'll just be a different way of doing so.
Different way, but still more.
Okay. On to the next question, right? Let's see here. Okay, for Arsh, what opportunities can you personally give to the younger generation who don't have any experience? Does generally have any sort of a project or campaign to allow unexperienced people to enter the industry?
Yes, for sure. We're always looking for people who can help us design products for youngsters. On technology, we do not work like a typical or traditional insurance company. In fact, we are hiring people from non-insurance background. We also hire people from banking. We also hire people who are from startups. In fact, that's the one. Because of all this, we get the diverse environment within the organization, and we challenge each other to do better. So there are plenty of opportunities. I would also like to add one more aspect here. We've been talking about the use of technology and embracing technology. I think it's a very powerful tool, and it's not just for young people, it's for everyone. We're facing a massive challenge in moving our distributors. These are agents, brokers, traditional distributors, to move to technology. It will make their job much easier. It will reduce the effort they put into closing a deal or sales. And we're trying to coach them, train them, and that's again an area where we need youngsters who can help us with that. So there are plenty of opportunities within our traditional insurer as well for youngsters.
Okay. Sibi, any take on hiring younger talent? You said earlier it was high turnover. Are you still doing it or not anymore?
Well, I did have some challenges, but then luckily I've been good for the last year. And things are constantly changing.
Yeah.
That's something that I have to be open to.
Yeah.
Make sure to retain people. You have a strong legal contract with them.
Interesting question. Actually, Gagan, I'm going to pass this one to you, right? Should interns be paid by companies, or should they work for free?
I mean, to each its own, right? So the whole concept of having interns is that it's not just you're getting work out of them, but eventually you're imparting knowledge to them as well, and what they gain from you. So for us, we don't have a fixed retainer, but we have our own way of thanking our interns after they finish their internship, which can be 90 days, which can be 120 days, which is not much money, but definitely much more than what they typically expect to get from employees like us. So there's no hard and fast rule, I mean, as I said, but what I personally feel is that if we are able to get value out of interns, and if they're actually sincere and working, there is no reason why they shouldn't be rewarded, because it's not sometimes about money, right? Money is fragile, you know, we take it, we spend it, but it's like you're showing respect to the other person. You are it's your way of thanking them that, yeah, you did really well, we really want to thank you for all your hard work, and there's a small gift from our side. So it helps build morale. So yeah, that's my answer. So if the interns are performing well, then they definitely should be incentivized. But if not, because sometimes interns are just doing it for the heck of it, then you might as well not pay them.
Well, I have 5 interns at my office this time, like for 2 months at the moment.
Are you paying them?
I don't know yet. We'll see. I'm sure I'll reward them in some way.
It's okay. I appreciate your honesty. That's perfectly fine. Just to be very transparent, I had interns recently as well. I did not pay them. Again, like a much smaller company, you know, taking very much like a. Oh, that was tiny. Okay. Let's see here. All right. One more question here. Gagan, the audience wants to know if there was a business or initiative that you'd invest in right now to diversify, what would it be? And actually, I'll ask all 3 of you guys this.
I mean, all businesses are hot, right? So there's no hard and fast rule, but Gen AI is a flavor of the season. Although I advocate people not to invest in the things they don't know, but fortunately for me, because I'm in this industry, I see a lot of companies in that domain, and I think I have a decent idea of which are better than the others. So definitely Gen AI would be added to my portfolio very, very soon.
And for you guys who don't know, Gen AI is essentially ChatGPT. It is a completely automated and auto-generating platform where you can ask any question and you'll answer in the most realistic way possible, in a human-like way, pulling from data from literally every source on the internet.
And the second one is 100% my expertise, my background, which is fintech company. So I still feel that the banks there's a lot to be disrupted there, particularly in the financing aspect and the way payments are made. It's still very expensive. They're extorting a lot of money. So that's for me 2 hot sectors. So Gen AI and fintech.
Gagan, any interesting business ventures or Arch, any interesting business ventures or anything you'd invest in?
Yes, there's one which is very close to my heart. It's healthcare. We all know the rise in medical cost. The treatments that are coming out from the pharmaceutical companies with the use of technology. The treatments for cancer, the treatment for diabetes now available. This is a sector that I closely watch and I myself invest in.
Sivi?
Well, for me, which I would invest in, or one that I've just invested in, and we're officially opening tomorrow. It's a kids cafe. Thank you. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a long time now, and finally coming to life.
I want to just go back to, you said something that you've been wanting to do for a long time. Something Gagan said about something close to your heart, something you know about, right? I guess a general advice would be invest in things that you understand and know. If you don't understand, don't know it, then get an expert who can teach you about it and then make a decision. And when you're getting an expert, look for all the key signs like Gagan was saying earlier. Make sure you do your DD, your due diligence. Look at their documents, look at the business plan, look at the opportunity available, look at the risk and reward ratio as well. If somebody's asking you to invest $1,000 in crypto with the probability of it going to $1 million, is that worth the risk and reward? In my opinion, yes. In your opinion, it might be different. Somebody who doesn't have $1,000 might say it's not worth it. Somebody who does have $1,000 would say, why not? Let's try it out, right? To each their own. There's no real answer we can give you. There's no silver bullet to any business idea, but play to your strengths and try to leverage as much technology as you can, because it just ends up making you a lot more efficient in what you do. With that, I would really like to thank the panelists and thank you everyone so much for having us here today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Harpreet. Thank you, everyone.
Let's all have another round of applause for our moderator as well as the panelists for such a wonderful job. Before we close our session today, I would like to invite Uncle Pindapal Madan, who is the chairman of Thai Japan Group, a stalwart of the business industry, and he is also the president of the Sri Guru Singh Sabha, Bangkok, and we all know him. And let's give a warm round of applause to Mr. Uncle Pindapal Madan.
Wow, I'm really impressed by the new professionals today compared to our time. Very knowledgeable to me, Harsh, Gagan, and Prem, and my blessings to all of you. And I really hope basically you achieve great things in the future. And it is beyond words to see you succeed in such a great manner. My take, I'll just give you a small experiences that I've had, for food, for the future. I see that you've been talking about sustainability of businesses. Some about SMEs, some about startups, law, family problems. The key thing that I think we should work upon is our setting ethical standards from the time that you start, and as you go on, impart that to the next generation. Because ethical standards will reduce conflicts in family businesses. We see in Japan, we have where ethical standards are highest. I mean, unfortunately, I would say they're much higher than other parts of Asia. We see businesses that have run for 1,400 years and 1,300 years. But in most of our countries, we see by the time they're the third generation or fourth generation, we run into conflicts. I think basically if we improve or at least set our ethical standards a little higher, give more emphasis. We always talk about going to the temples and learning about the scriptures, but at the end of the day, how much do we practice it? If we are able to, I'm not talking about this on a spiritual point of view, but on a business point of view. How do you sustain your business? if you set your ethical standards to a certain level, you build a reputation. And the reputation will bring you suppliers, investors, bankers, customers, clients, everything. And that's, I think, a great way to succeed. And this is just food for thought. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Uncle Prinderpal, for your awesome advice and ancient wisdom. We deeply appreciate your presence here and giving that wonderful speech to all of us. Now I'd like to invite our ITCC president to please come up here. We will be now giving our souvenirs and gifts to our panelists as well as the moderators and to Uncle Prinderpal. So I'd like to kindly, Nikita, if you don't mind, if you can just kindly come here to prepare, get the shawls. And then
while the shawl is coming, let me welcome you all today. It's a very nice event, and this is the first time Chamber has organized and with all youngsters here, because what we say, the future walks on the shoulder of young people. So you are the future of the society. So it's a good thing. And I hope that more and more the young people will take interest in Chamber and join with the Chamber's activity. And we should do furthermore. And I should not forget to thank my fellow director, Jamal, who took the pain to organize this event. Thank you, Jamal, once again for this event. And I hope that you will keep organizing such events in future also. Once again, I also thank you, Prinderji, who took the time to come here and guide us. And thank to you all once again. Thank you.
Okay, for the first person you'd like to give the flowers to, Simi, can you please come to receive your flower and your shawl. Next, I'd like to. Next, I'd like to have Mr. Arsh. Please, can you come on the stage? A warm round of applause for Mr. Arsh, please. I'd like to invite Mr. Duggan Ajami onto the stage, please. Round of applause for Mr. Duggan, our startup specialist. Next, I would like to invite on the stage Harpreem Dua, our wonderful moderator today. Thank you so much, Harpreem, for the wonderful interactive session. And finally, I would like to invite finally, I'd like to invite Uncle Prinderpal Madaji onto the stage. Yes. And can we invite all the moderator and the panelists onto the stage for a photo session?